So, I'm the program coordinator for the German Center for Research and Innovation here in Tokyo.
And I am Mathieu P., the coordinator of the activities of the European Commission initiative EURAXESS for Japan, also in Korea, but in Japan.
And we're really happy that the weather is okay today, so that no one of you has a decision, it's raining and you don't want to come. So luckily that part worked really well. We have 14 speakers tonight, we have 8 people here in the jury. We're really happy that also you within the audience came, I don't know from like how far. Yeah, I would just give you a really quick overview on the program. I mean, the layout is really simple, so probably not much questions. But there's going to be an opening part, takes about 20 minutes, where we give some context on this Falling Walls Lab and introduce the organizing organizers. And then is the main part, of course, which you came for, is the part of the speakers. 14 speakers, each of them have 3 minutes. There won't be really a break in between, just for you to know. So, yeah, if you feel like you need a quick break, then just, you know, don't wait for this indicated 7:30. We will just hand over between us as the MCs. From 8:15, there is a session called Catch and Tell. The jury, in that moment, will leave the room. So please, for you in the audience, don't think everyone should leave now. It's just the jury going out for deliberation. They have, they need to discuss. They cannot really enter like a Q&A with the speakers, but at least among them, they can discuss who they want to nominate. And then, results announcement. That is, of course, one part we all looking forward to. And finally,
most of which it's a fun event. So let's have a lot of fun. But we are not the official openers of this event. We have for the welcome address Ms. Manke, the director of the German Center for Research and Innovation in Tokyo, DWIH Tokyo. Also, please.
Thank you very much.
Yes, please use it.
Hello, my name is Manke, and I would like to welcome you to this evening, to this lab tonight. Dear Professor Wojciech, dear is Collier, it's not? Okay. Okay, dear Professor Sakurada, dear Ms. Schenk, dear Professor Maeda, dear Professor Yokota, Dr. Schneider, and dear Professor Ono, ladies and gentlemen, dear students, dear friends, welcome again, and I would like to tell you a story. I remember the 9th of November, 1989, very well. It's almost 30 years ago. I was 19 years old at this time. I had just turned 19 2 weeks before, and I had just started university 1 month before. And I had grown up with 2 Germanys, East Germany and West Germany. I could not imagine anything else at this time, because that's what I knew. East Germany was a totalitarian communist state, and West Germany was a democracy, and I grew up in West Germany. And the West Germans were allowed to travel to East Germany, but the East Germans were not allowed to travel to West Germany. And actually they had not much freedom, and many tried to escape during these years since the Second World War. And there was a border between East and West Germany, and there was a wall in Berlin that was actually the symbol for the division of the 2 countries, West Berlin and East Berlin. And during my adolescence, I traveled actually very often to Berlin, and I visited the wall, and I saw the barbed wire, I saw the blocked area, I saw the soldiers, I saw there was a river, nobody could swim, or there were no boats, nothing, because it was protected by the soldiers, and was a very dangerous area. And although it was very dangerous, many East Germans tried to escape during this year over the wall, or they digged holes under the wall, and it was, and many died. And it was very sad, but at this time I was 19 years old. I thought, shikataranai, that's the way the world is. And then this miracle happened on 9th of November, 1989. There was, actually in the month before, there were mass demonstrations in East Berlin, and there was a mass exodus from Berlin to, over the East European states, Hungary and also Austria. And the East German government thought, okay, we have to do something. And so there was this press conference where there was a spokesman, and he said this very famous, he made this very famous mistake, which was a very good mistake. He said that immediately, and from now on, the borders will be open. At this press conference on the 9th of November. And the East Germans, they took the opportunity, they thought, okay, this is a goal. And they went to the border, to the wall, they persuaded the soldiers because there was this order to let them through, and 2 hours later, the wall was full of people, and they were dancing, screaming. And I was sitting in front of the TV because I was in West Germany at this time. Actually, I was living in Bonn, which was the capital of former West Germany. And I saw this, and I couldn't believe it. It was a miracle at this time for all of us. And what does it have to do with this contest today, you might ask yourself. So there are 3 points that are connected. The first thing is, of course, the name of this event today is Falling Walls. And it's, what do you say in English? It's a hint to this, it refers to this evening of 9th of November when the wall fell down. And at this time, it was a political wall that fell down. And today, we need, in this world now, we need innovation to solve the problems of the world, and we need it from the young people. And in order to do that, we need enough walls to fall down. That is to say, we need people who think out of the box, who think cross-disciplinary, who think, who not only take their own methods of science, but also look at other methods, who are just are very open for new and innovative ideas. And this is what we're doing today. We want to give this platform today, this forum today, for these 14 young researchers and students who apply today for giving their speeches. So we do also this as a DWIH, and my colleague, Constance, she will tell you more about it, but one of our aims is actually to provide a platform where Japanese and German, and also other scientists can meet and share their innovative research. So that's the first point. The second point is, of course, the date. Because the winner of today, this year, he or she will travel to Berlin on the 8th of November for the final. And this final will be 1 day before the 30th commemoration day of this day that I just talked about. And so this happens actually every year, but I think this year is a special year. At least for me it is a special year, and I hope also for you. And we had, last year we had 77 labs in 57 countries. So you will expect to meet at least 77 other finalists, and you will also meet very renowned scientists and entrepreneurs there. And I think it's a very, I have never been there, but I heard it's a very, very interesting and inspiring event. So the third reason why I told you this story is actually a little bit personal, because I think that today, or in life, we need to cross borders, and we need to seize opportunities. We have to take the opportunities when we get them, such as the East Germans did when they heard this spokesperson speaking these very famous words. They just thought, okay, now we go. And these 14 finalists, they do not finalists, sorry. These 14 young researchers and students today, they do the same. And for me, they are all winners already because they applied to come here and to give us their speeches. So good luck with it, and as my predecessor said, thank you, have fun, and thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Wanke. Very interesting stories on many points that relate to today's event. I will try to appeal to my non-existing German side and be to the point because we have a schedule to follow. I would like also to say a few words about us. So, as you know, this event is organized EURAXESS Japan and DWIH Tokyo. So just a very few points, facts about us. EURAXESS is not a company, it's a European Commission initiative to support researchers in their career and in their research projects through internationalization. And when we say researchers, we mean anyone doing a research activity from a master's student or a PhD student in the lab to a senior professor in academia, in the industry, and all disciplines, including, of course, social sciences and humanities. We don't care what nationality you are. What we do care about is making the European research area, which is this set of group of countries, EU 28 for now, plus a couple of, no, more than a couple of countries. And what we provide is we provide services for researchers that they can use to, well, obtain funding, obtain a job, or network, for example. We have different arrays of services that you can all access through this single web portal, EURAXESS.org. It is very easy to access. I would recommend that you try and use it. Some of it you can also use it offline. As you can see here today, I am not online, I am offline with you. And so we have offices also outside of Europe where we try to link you for your projects with or in Europe. Now I also wanted to say something about science communication because today is about innovative spirits, is about falling walls for science, but it's also about how to be a good science communicator. And I have 30 seconds left. So this is what came from the top of my head. You have nowadays, as a student, as a researcher, you have to disseminate, you have to communicate your research, not only to your peers through publications or through funding grants applications, but you have to appeal to people from different fields if you want to be innovative. You also have a responsibility towards the general scientific community and the society at large, fake news. And you are accountable, and this is a feedback loop, right? You are accountable because you are giving back in the form of, let's say, new products or new knowledge, and the society will use it, and if you are good at it, then you will get new funding, right? So this is a circle. Now about today, Ms. Wanke introduced the event much better than I could have done, so I will not say a lot of things. What I really want to say is this is actually a really tough job, right? Presenting your research work in 3 minutes in a language that is most likely not your native language, even though it is English and it is the language of science, is very difficult. So I'm talking now to you in the audience past the third row. It is 3 minutes for you, but for them it is somehow, maybe not a life project, but amounting to. So let's cheer them, yeah? Let's not give them too much stress, and let's be smiling at them all the time. That being said, it is also a contest, right? And we have 8 jury members right here that I would like to take. Can I take 1 minute to introduce them? Which means that you will also have to take very few seconds to introduce yourself. So I will start from my right, your left, with Professor Izumi Ono from GRIPS, the National Graduate Institute for Policy Studies. Please stand up and...
Thank you. Hi, my name is Izumi Ono. I'm an architect at GRIPS. My major is international cooperation development. So I really welcome that the new ideas, how to make the world better. And also I work for DWIH. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We also have Dr. Jörg Schneider from the German Research Foundation right here. Oh, yes.
I don't think I need it. Oh, for the video. Okay. My name is Jörg Schneider, I already said that. German Research Foundation, this is the equivalent of the GSBS here in Japan. I'm heading the international division there. I've been to the Berlin event. So whoever wins this award, it's really, really great. Enjoy.
Thank you. Next we have Professor Akemi Yokota from Chiba University.
Thank you for inviting this very interesting event. I'm Akemi Yokota, major in law, legal system. So that's why I want to enjoy a collaboration with very technical health skills and many problems, but we can solve with very good ideas. Thank you for.
We also have Professor Yoshiaki Maeda from Tohoku University.
I'm Yoshiaki Maeda from Tohoku University. We are also host Falling World Draft Center, and it's a competitive event. So I'm a great fan of the Falling World Draft, and so please enjoy your talk.
And we also have Professor Marek Wojtek from LC right here. Thank you once again for hosting us.
My background is I also have another job at NASA. I'm the head of the astrobiology program there, but I'm the executive director here at LC, and I welcome you all. This is a great event. We at LC are really committed to science communication, so I'm interested to see the ideas that are innovative and will change our future, but also very fascinated at how people choose to deliver that message and share the excitement of their research and the importance of it. So thank you all for joining us.
We also have Ms. Sabine Schenk from the Heidelberg University office in Kyoto.
Hello, I came from Kyoto today. I'm from Heidelberg University, Germany, and we have a liaison office in Kyoto. My personal background is actually in Japanese studies and art history, and I'm very much looking forward to your talks.
And next we have Dr. Kazuhiro Sakurada from RIKEN.
Oh, okay, it's my pleasure to be here today. Our program in RIKEN tried to break the border between AI, mathematics, and biomedical science. So like your challenge, I'm really looking for your presentation today. Thank you very much.
And last we have Luca Escoffier from the EU Japan Center for Industrial Cooperation.
Thank you, Mathieu. Very nice to meet you all. I'm at the EU Japan Center where I run the Tech Transfer Help Desk. So talking about giving back, I talk to universities, inventors, individual companies to basically help them monetize their technologies with licensing. And on a side, I co-founded and run some startups.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank once again all of the jury for having standed up. One thing is, These are the jury. They will be tough to the participants, but probably not to you. Feel free to talk to them at the evening reception. They are not monsters. Only to the 14 participants in today's science communication contest. Please give them a round of applause before we go to the presentation of the DWIH. Round of applause for the speakers.
Okay, as the second organizer, the German Center for Research and Innovation here in Tokyo, I would also like to give a few words on our organization. So what is our mission? On the one side, we are a forum for German universities, non-university research organization, and private sector side that is of course also often looking at research. So that's one side, like we're thinking together about the topics, innovation research we want to promote from Germany in a concerted offer. And then of course we want to do this in interaction with the Japanese partners, so we look at what topics are relevant here in Japan from Germany, so to bring important actors together. These are our official supporters, so we really have regular rounds of consultations. You find among them the classic research organization that you might be familiar with, like Leibniz and Max Planck or Fraunhofer. We have universities, also represented by Ms. Schenk today, like Heidelberg University, but also from Cologne, from Dortmund. Then we have some organizations that are rather representatives of the private sector, and here for promotion of economic cooperation. So this would be, for instance, the German Chamber of Commerce and Industry, but also federal state related economic or economy promotion agencies from North Rhine-Westphalia and Bavaria, and then also research funding organization. Okay, so what were we doing during the year? Like these are our main activities. We are organizing events. This is one example here. So important for us is really bringing research innovation drivers together. We organize events, symposia, fora. This is more like a format for, so to say, the junior researchers. We also offer consultation if experts from Germany approaching us on finding a partner here in Japan on their research topic, or the other way around. And then like the classic marketing, advertising. We have a website, and on Twitter we inform about like research related news on calls and events that are either organized by us or by our official supporters. That are just some photos to depict what, for instance, had been going on over the last month. So one of our big events during the last month was the Trilateral AI Symposium with 63 speakers from France, Germany, and Japan, and 300 people in the audience. Parallel to this, there was a meeting by the research funding organizations from these three countries, like the and then we have also follow-up events taking up the topics that have been discussed in a bigger format as a symposium, are taken up in smaller events like a workshop on AI ethics in autonomous driving. And you see one picture of people visiting us for consultation and the website. Okay, and here we are, Falling Walls. You see there had been some labs happening in the past. So from 2006 into 2018 we had from about 10 fields of research, 63 applicants. 45 speakers have been doing what you have still ahead of here, but I think they're all, some of them are still in touch with us, so I think it's a nice opportunity in any way. They were representing 35 countries. Today we have next to 7 speakers from Japan, I think Belgium, China, Germany, India, and US represented.
And yeah, we had 16 jury members in the past, always representing different organizations, and I would say kind of a new batch again today. So I think we're at the point where the speakers can get ready. So we have, so maybe you can also come over here. From now on, we will, as the MCs, introduce our speakers, always in really short words, just to give you a first impression before they start their 3 minutes talk. Of course, it's difficult to dive in new topics every time there is a new speaker in that short frame, but I hope, yeah, just really try to, grasp it and enjoy what you can learn from these different presenters. Okay. Here you come. So our first speaker is going to be Mr. Raj Peters. His background, his field of research is linguistics, and when asked about what is his motivation for the current research project, he would say he wants to test the boundaries of human interaction and creating new opportunities for us here to connect and learn. So his claim is to be truly innovative, science must be accessible to everyone. The topic of his talk today is breaking the wall of collaborative learning on social media. So please, Mr. Walk.
When you woke up this morning, what was the first thing that you did? For me, I looked at my phone. And also during breakfast, I was going through my Facebook wall, and even just now, I took my phone out to check my emails. Now, these are just a couple of examples of how the screens of our smartphones, our tablets, and our computers are present everywhere. And it's changing the way we live our lives. Now, on average, for almost everyone in this room, a day looks a bit like this. For 8 hours, we sleep. For 8 hours, we eat, we walk, and we spend time with the people around us. And for 8 hours, we live through our screens in a virtual reality. And in that virtual reality, the rules of engagement have changed. Think about social media. There's so much information coming in all the time that we cannot cope anymore. Every day we are losing track. And instead of bringing people together, it is driving us further and further apart. Social media isn't social anymore. And when you think about how much time we spend online, this has become a major issue. So I asked myself, how can I make people talk and listen again on social media? And as a linguist, I developed a tool to study online language, and I called it LASSO, Language and Social System Observation. In my research, I let hundreds and hundreds of people work together on social media, and I studied how they try to learn something from each other. Now with LASSO, I'm able to determine what kind of language they use to work together successfully, and what is stopping them from doing so. And what did I observe? Well, we as people, we interact. We share content and resources, we manage ourselves and the online world around us, and we share our emotions. However, there is one aspect of interaction that is almost not there. We are not critical. There's just too much information coming in. And while everything else is interconnected, our critical thinking skills are isolated. Now with LASSO, for the first time, I'm able to create this network of language and interaction for any group of people, for any social media app. We can now see where the problems lie and take the necessary steps to solve them. And because we now can better understand language and interaction online, we can change the face of the internet. We can even improve what is already there, the algorithms behind our social media apps. We can create new concepts that make people interact again, that allow us to be critical. The good news is, we don't have to drown. We don't have to lose track. With Lasso, we have all the information we need to create this new space and time for interaction and learning online, and make social media, again, truly social.
Okay, thank you very much for the first talk. I would like to call now Mr. Riku Yamada-san. His research field is sustainability, food and recycling. The motivation for him in that research is to solve food loss problem and make food use sustainable by utilizing black soldier flies. So it's one sort of flies. The motivation for him to participate today in the Falling Walls Lab is to maximize the social impact of his research and business. So I would like to call Mr. Riku Yamada here to present his topic, Breaking the Wall of Food Loss.
Hello. Nice to see you all here. Breaking the wall of food loss with black soldier fly. That is what I have been doing for a year and a half. My name is Riku, measuring engineering at the University of Tokyo. Today I'm going to talk about my food recycle project, Robin. Food loss is a serious problem. Roughly 1/3 of food produced for human consumption, approximately 1.3 billion tons gets wasted every year. And food waste accounts to $1 trillion US. Everybody knows the importance of the problem, but most of them do not know how to approach it. We need a radical solution, and I believe the answer is black soldier fly. Black soldier fly larvae are incredible decomposers of organic waste, eating 2.5 times their own waste in a single day. And best of all, the larvae are 42% protein, perfect chicken feed that will combat with upcoming global food crisis. And this is the concept of our sustainable food cycle. First, food waste is thrown away at a restaurant or a company cafeteria. That waste is put into a larvae container and they grow. The grown larvae is processed into a chicken feed and chicken is brought to our kitchen. Conventional food recycle is low speed, unprofitable, and troublesome. And I'm going to make it high speed, profitable, and easy. Our method is 10 times faster than composting. And chicken feed has 30 times higher market value than fertilizer made by compost. I'm doing a demonstration experiment at a company cafeteria at Tokyo and a chicken farm at Okinawa. I believe black soldier fly will become new infrastructure for food recycle to make the world more sustainable. Thank you very much for listening.
Thanks a lot for your presentation. I would like to ask Ms. Milling Sun to get ready. She's researching on terahertz wave application, and her objective is to develop terahertz wave application for industry and daily life. What makes her motivated to come here today is to receive fresh stimulus and share her idea with others. Okay.
Before the presentation, have you ever imagined what if you could see through the object? What if you had the ability to see through someone else? Actually, seeing through the object is not a superpower or dream anymore. Capture this. The gun hidden inside the gun hidden inside the plastic bag can be seen through clearly without touching or opening it. In addition, the movement of medicine powder inside the package could also be observed in real time. How could this happen? To understand it, we should bring up a wave called terrace radiation that lies between terrace radiation. It's a part of electromagnetic spectrum that lies between the microwaves and infrareds. It's normally a thermal radiation. That something is normally called the black body radiation. Every object emits it, not only the sun, but also your own body. And use terrace wave, we can get better penetration through materials than infrared we get, and we can see through the solid object, and also can achieve the better resolution than microwaves. But what's the microwaves? But what's the problem? Why don't we use it already? The problem is that the solution for there is no cheap and easy solution for either generating it or detecting it. All the solutions we currently have are both expensive and complex. So we cannot build a new material for terrace detector, the carbon nanotube film. First, it has excellent mechanical properties such as good electrical and thermal connectivities, and also high tensile strength and also flexible. Second, it shows very good response to terrace wave in room temperature. The absorbance rate to terrace wave reaches over 99% in room temperature, and also, and third, the device is easy to fabricate, and the mechanism is very simple. The process is called thermoelectronic in jargon, and in this process, the heat or thermal converts into electricity. And this is quite promising for the future applications such as the automatic medicine quality inspection. It can check the inner structure of medicine clearly in real time, which the X-ray could not. And this has been demonstrated already. As it can be seen, the 3 different medicine hidden in the envelope has distinguished already, and the breakage of the medicine and the thickness status can also be checked. Not only for the solid type products, but also the liquid type products can also be checked. And the air bubble, and our device succeeded to detect the air bubble.
I think so far we can follow everyone who was there for all of this. Thanks to Ms. Son again. I would like to get Mr. Yogo Utaki to get ready. He's researching on electrical flexible devices, and his aim is to enhance the sensitivity of the flexible and wearable monitoring device for non-invasive healthcare. He came here to learn about other fields of study as well.
Good evening all, and thank you for introducing my presentation. I'm Yogo Utaki from Tokyo Institute of Technology. Recent progress and development of medical engineering for practical healthcare system have been controversial in terms of its cost and safety. Now I introduce a completely new combination between non-invasive electromagnetic wave and nanocarbon materials as a promising solution for future healthcare system. And the title of my presentation is Breaking the Wall of Non-Invasive Healthcare Monitoring. First of all, Let me talk about terahertz wave as a key technology in our research. Terahertz wave is a kind of electromagnetic wave located between microwave and light wave. Microwave can pass through objects like cell phone, and light wave can go straight like this laser pointer. And then terahertz wave has both advantages and expected as a tool for various imaging and sensing applications, such as medical security inspection. And surprisingly, terahertz wave is emitted from our body as thermal radiation. So that makes non-invasive inspection possible without risky high-power laser. And then we developed a flexible and wearable terahertz skin scanner based on carbon nanotube film. Advantages of carbon nanotube film devices are low cost and high productivity compared to conventional medical instruments. For applications, we successfully demonstrated passive body monitoring with our flexible skin scanner. And we established a prototype for a non-invasive healthcare monitoring system. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Utaki. Mr. Colin Stecker gets ready. He's researching on the topic of energy materials and would like to explore the potential of alternative low-cost solar energy materials. His motivation to participate today in the Falling Walls Lab is to spark curiosity about new solar energy technologies.
In order to address the problems of increasing energy demand and climate change, it is essential to increase production of clean, renewable energy. Flexible solar cells could dramatically increase our capacity to harvest clean energy and reduce carbon emissions. Imagine, what if not just the roof of your house, but also the curtains on your windows could harness the energy of the sun with the same high efficiency and with lower cost? Well, a low-cost, flexible material called perovskite has made impressively quick gains in efficiency. However, further improvements must be made to match the efficiency of market-leading silicon solar cells, and more critically, the instability of the perovskite material is a major hurdle towards commercialization. After all, nobody wants to replace their curtains twice a year. My research takes the unique approach of examining this material at the atomic scale to better understand how defects in the material can affect device performance and material stability. Here is an image that I took, and these bright circles are individual atoms. And this darker area here is an empty space where an atom is missing, and this is called a vacancy defect. My research shows two important consequences of vacancy defects. When sunlight hits a solar panel, it gives its energy to an electron, freeing that electron to run to the external circuit and power your home. However, there's a barrier along the way that can prevent the electron from reaching the finish line. And my work shows the presence of vacancy defects can actually change the height of this barrier. And understanding how this barrier can change is critical for engineering more efficient devices. The second consequence of vacancy defects is that they allow other atoms in the material to move around. I visualized atoms moving to and from the surface and also along the surface. Think of one of those sliding picture puzzles, but going in reverse, from a completed picture to an absolute mess. In this way, the movement of atoms contributes to material instability, and my work shows that vacancy defects enable this destabilizing motion. My work provides a fundamental insight that will guide applied research towards creating more efficient and more stable perovskite solar devices, so that we can break the wall of flexible, affordable, renewable energy and make those solar curtains in your home a reality. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot, Mr. Stecker. Ms. Momoko Ubuki-san will get ready. She's dedicating her time to research on drug delivery systems. And as a future pharmaceutical scientist, she wants to use the chance here at the lab to enhance her communication skills, scientific communication skills.
I want to be the man who could walk through walls to see family and friends behind the wall immediately. This is a figure of the famous book and movie of the man who could walk through wall by Marcel Ami, Paris, and I want to be the man like him. The cells are melanoma cancer cells, and for cancer therapy, therapeutic molecules such as gene, proteins should be carried using a drug delivery system. However, big walls of cancer membranes are a big problem to stop the cellular uptake of the drugs. So, I want to be the man who can walk through walls of cancer cells membrane with therapeutic molecules. This slide shows my research strategy, toxin-based intercellular delivery. I use saponin toxin protein as an intercellular delivery carrier. Saponin can efficient cellular uptake function with membrane penetration. So saponin can carry objective molecule into cells through cell membrane. In addition, to control membrane penetration of saponin, I attach laser-sensitive reagent to saponin, which participate in membrane penetration function. After attachment of laser-sensitive reagent, saponin cannot penetrate through membrane. On the other hand, by laser irradiation, laser-sensitive reagent enhance membrane accumulation of saponin and membrane disruptive, leading to membrane penetration. This is a confocal microscopic observation of saponin. Cancer cells and green signals show the saponin on membrane. This is before laser irradiation, and after irradiation, cell membrane penetration of saponin is enhanced. This result show intercellular release is controlled by laser irradiation, and this is targeted delivery system for the future therapy. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Ms. Obuki. Mr. Koki Sakita, he is studying on or researching on disaster prevention and especially on serving in that field. He would like to reduce the damages from disaster and help a lot of people. And for today, his objective is to just let a lot of people know about his research field.
Disaster is one threat to human. The increase of the rainfall has been reported in many countries in recent years. Above all, Japan is one of the countries with many disasters caused by rainfall. Last year, we have a serious problem. There are 200 victims because of the rainfall. this is very sad. One of the causes is slope disaster. But how can we reduce the damage from the slope disaster? This is my opinion. Establishment effective inspection methods. Now, when you feel not good, you see the doctor, right? Actually, we have the doctor for the mountain. They see the condition of the mountain. So our mission is to create a tool to help them and manage the more effectively. For that, we need the efficient, qualitative, and safety methods. This is the answer. Aerial laser survey, or we can say the laser profiler. The survey can measure the whole mountain from the sky in less 1 day. And also allow us to obtain the 3D data like this. This is the surface of the slope. So it's like a CT scan of the mountain. Or we can use like this. This data is colored by the feature of the mountain, which is like a unevenness or degrees of the slope. Such features are the mark at the time of the inspection. Then, when we compress the data to 2 dimensions like an image and put in the iPad or tablet with a coordinate system and bring it to the field investigation, experts can use it as a map. They won't get lost in a mountain, and they can choose the safety route. How about incorporating AI technology? We can create a tool to help the expert to predict a disaster, or it may enable the judgment without mistake. Finally, I'd like to say we can reduce the damage from the disaster. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sakita. We are in the middle of the 14 presentations. There is no real break time, but yeah, I would just like to hand over, and the next 7 people of you to get ready.
Thank you very much, Constance. I'm taking over for the second half of this event, just to relieve a little bit the stress of the 7 who just came, and to relieve also the stress of the 7 to come. Let's have a round of applause once again for all of them. Thank you very much, you're so kind. So, the second batch of speakers will start with, and I'm sorry, I will probably scorch your name, Ms. Anna Paulina Ponzinski. And her presentation will be about breaking the wall of understanding life's limits with an S. Her field of research is environmental microbiology. Her motivation for her research project is to apply the knowledge that she has about microbial survival in hostile environments to questions about origin of life. And our motivation to participate here today is to show how incredible life forms exist in our world and not only in science fiction. Please.
Are we alone? How did life start? And how can we identify life beyond Earth? We all come across these questions at some points in our lives. Good evening, everyone. My name is Paula, and I'm a student here at Tokyo Tech. In my research, I investigate microbes that thrive in some of Earth's most extreme environments, because I believe that understanding these tiny creatures can enable us and guide us in our search for life beyond Earth. Shibuya, your phone, anything you touch. Microbes are everywhere, in, on, and around us, even though we're not able to see them. This is an example of a very friendly environment that a lot of living beings enjoy, including ourselves. This environment, on the other hand, is more extreme and hostile to a lot of life forms. We wouldn't like living in cold places like this for a very long time. However, some microbes do, and actually they enjoy living there. These are the ones that I'm interested in, because I believe that the extraterrestrial environments that have the potential to have a life probably look a lot closer to the extreme environments on Earth than to the ordinary ones. To investigate these microbes that are limited by temperature, I grow them in the lab at varying temperature conditions, close to their respective temperature limits at 4 and 55 degrees, as well as at a temperature that they're most comfortable at. I feed them compounds such as methanol, which is like their food, and observe how they grow. After understanding the timescales at which the microbes act, I feed them with very specific and detectable food. This allows me to look at the uptake of specific and non-specific foods in individual cells of the community of microbes. All of these microbes have the same DNA, which means they have the same genetic potential to carry out the processes that are needed for their survival. So we'd expect them to act at similar rates as well, right? But we don't see that. Individual cells in microbial communities vary from the average, even though, again, they all have the same genetic potential. I want to understand this single cell variation, the factors that enhance or reduce the variation, and understand how single microbes can contribute to the survival of entire microbial communities in Earth's most extreme environments. Combining this knowledge of the processes that make life at extremes possible with environmental data from faraway places, I believe that we will be able to understand the fingerprints that biology leaves behind, and we will be able to find life beyond Earth. After all, alien life may not only come in the form of ET, but in more unsuspected shapes and sizes. Thank you.
Thank you very much for pointing us that somehow aliens are already among us. So I would like to ask the next speaker to prepare himself, Mr. Yu Tokumoto. His presentation will be about breaking the wall of wearable biological monitoring. His field of research obviously is wearable biological sensor. His research motivation is to develop such a sensor in order to examine a lot of different characteristics of the human body. And his motivation to come here is, of course, to tell you about it, first and foremost. Please.
Thank you for introducing my presentation. Good evening, everyone. My name is Yu Tokumoto from Tokyo Institute of Technology. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. My topic is related to healthcare, and I'm conducting my research to realize easier medical examination. So let me start. At first, I'd like to introduce terahertz wave, even if you heard a few times. The frequency of terahertz wave is located between microwave and light. The remarkable point for healthcare is that the energy of terahertz wave is much smaller than X-rays. This advantage could lead to more minimally invasive medical examination. Terahertz medical applications are getting attention for cancer, tooth, blood glucose level, and body temperature monitoring, and so on. However, in order to utilize terahertz wave for medical, wearable terahertz detector is necessary for responding to human motion. To overwhelm this wall, we decided to apply carbon nanotube film for terahertz detector. Carbon nanotube film has many characteristics: flexible, high terahertz absorption, and broadband. So I'm going to report about the examination of detecting black body radiation with this carbon nanotube film. This chart shows the response of black body radiation on wrist. From 350 counts, the hand movement started, like this movie. And I finished this movement at 475 counts. As shown in this chart, the response changes corresponding to this movement. In the future, it is possible with this wearable detector to examine blood glucose level on skin surface by integrating with terahertz source. Carbon nanotube film will enable us to detect illness easily. That brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Very interesting indeed. I do hope that these are not 5G connected and not everyone knows about my blood pressure right now. Okay, I would like to ask the next presenter to come. And once again, I'm very sorry, Mr. Yukith Mainuna, for his presentation about breaking the wall of unappealing information. Nope, this is what is appearing on my paper, but obviously it is not the case. Breaking the wall of experimental search time, yes, this makes more sense. And obviously everything that I have on my paper is not okay. So I will make up something about this. As a researcher, you spend obviously a lot of time in the lab. And it is not always exactly what you would want it to be in terms of results. And I believe that your project is about this, but I have no idea. And I believe your motivation to come here is to tell us what it is exactly about, because I have no idea what it is. So please.
Thank you for the amazing analysis. So, my name is Lipit Manjunatha from Kyushu University, and today I'm going to be talking about coolants. There's a reason why I'm interested in coolants. Almost every major field of modern human technology, from automobiles, electronics, cooling appliances to industrial machines, everything generates some form of heat. And coolants are substances that simply remove heat. And so they are already an integral part of our technological architecture. But if you take a look at coolants used in, for example, automobiles, they have changed from saltwater mixture to methanol to ethylene glycol and finally to the most popular coolant in present day 2019. I'm kidding, it's still ethylene glycol. So it's been 100 years and we still have not been able to find a significantly better coolant. And the reason is because it's hard. And to procure the elements, to procure the liquid, set up the experiment, calculate thermal conductivity, viscosity, and then repeat that for potentially thousands and thousands of molecules in different concentrations is impossible. Good luck to you if you want to do that, but I will offer an alternative. So using traditional experiments, we've already hit a wall. You can only find, say, the total property. What we've done is we've used computers to break down the thermal conductivity right down to its atomic contributions. So you can do some really cool stuff with this, because as you can, take a look at all these 5 molecules. All of them have different number of carbons, hydrogens, and hydroxyl groups, OH. And we have isolated thermal conductivity because of carbon interactions, hydrogen interactions, and OH interactions. We can immediately understand from this that OH is a very important group to increase thermal conductivity. This is very intuitive information we cannot get from traditional experiments. And if you can do that with a huge number of atoms and atomic groups, you can determine, for example, OH, many other atomic groups that help increase thermal conductivity, and which of them we can completely ignore, thereby reducing the search space, which is, again, impossible just by using traditional experiments. So if we can use this information, this mapped out information, and intelligently combine, say, OH, S, SH, or Cl, whatever, and design our new molecules to maximize the thermal conductivity, we've effectively reduced experimental cost, effort, and more importantly, time, so that we can create more efficient machines and consequently environmentally friendly machines for our future generations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The other obvious conclusion is that you cannot infer the contents of a talk from its title. I would like to ask the next speaker to come now, Mr. Ku Lee, for his presentation about breaking the wall of, now I'm checking because I'm afraid, yes, it's fine, breaking the wall of ubiquitous inspection robot. His field is that of flexible imaging device, and his research motivation is, well, to be a pioneer in the fusion of different things that are nanocarbon-based flexible imager with multifunctional robots for inspection systems. And he wants to come here to brush up on his own research and, of course, catch up on what is done elsewhere as well. Please.
Question. Imagine that now you are driving a car in a long, long tunnel. Then can you assure that the tunnel is safe and never falling down? Are you 100% sure that you are safe enough? I say no. Nobody can tell whether social infrastructure and facility are safe or not. Nobody knows when we face fatal accidents caused by defect of social infrastructure and industrial products. Today I present you Social Safety Net Platform in upcoming Smart Society, Breaking the Wall of Ubiquitous Inspection Robot. As imaging inspection methods has been widely investigated, such as X-ray, visualization technique based on terahertz frequency region is playing promising role for its huge advantages, including strong transmittance, high resolution, damageless to biosamples. However, conventional two-dimensional terahertz camera cannot be adaptable for three-dimensional curved object, which shutting down the way towards social implementation of non-destructive terahertz imaging inspection. So here comes our approach. Firstly, we newly developed freely attachable multi-view terahertz camera by using flexible carbon nanotube film, which enable us 3D terahertz imaging regardless the shape and size of inspection object. Secondly, we innovated multifunctional robotics and pioneered novel type ubiquitous multi-view terahertz inspection robot for universal social safety net platform. Finally, we created cutting-edge robot-assisted ubiquitous non-destructive terahertz monitoring system of social infrastructure, including even hardly accessible facility, which provide active feedback to both citizens and management division in real-time and remote operation. As shown in this scheme, we successfully demonstrated unmanned inspection of an L-shaped tunnel. So, there are miniature L-shaped tunnel and a present ubiquitous multi-view terahertz inspection robot. Let's see how it's working. This is a real-time terahertz image, and now self-driving multi-view terahertz endoscope robot starts running. As we see, when it passes by the wall with a tiny breakages, local strong terahertz responses are observed. Like this, we identify the defect of L-shaped tunnel over a wide angle and achieved robot-assisted ubiquitous non-destructive terahertz monitoring of social facility. In conclusion, our approach shed light on the way toward realizing the universal social safety net platform, and I'm sure that it will play a key role by involving these IoT components. That's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we will all dream of terahertz this night. So I would like to welcome the next speaker, Mr. Go Takahashi. His presentation will be about breaking the wall of green governance in Myanmar community. He's a specialist in environment security, and his research is about creating harmony in community life with multicultural philosophy and I do not understand the rest of this sentence because it is not of my domain. I'm sorry, it will be up to you to explain. And his motivation is, of course, share his original idea of creating through harmony for peace. Please.
Thank you for introduction. Hello everybody, my name is Go from Waseda University and ASEAN Green Justice Network collaborating with the UN University for Peace. Please look at these pictures. This is my research site. You know, there is a lot of authentic nature beauty. Sorry. Authentic beauties in Southeast Asia, indigenous and local communities. More than 60% of the local and indigenous communities in the world are densely concentrated in Southeast Asia. But right now, a lot of intervention happens to local and indigenous community. You know, look at these pictures. Many indigenous peoples host relocations from their ancestral lands. Where is the human rights? You know, now is a local and indigenous community faces very big transformation, social, economic, and environmental transformation like climate change and ethnic conflict. So where is the human rights? Rights to ancestral land, rights to water, rights to natural resource management, rights to education. The wall I want to show in this my presentation today is vertical versus horizontal structures in natural resource management, green governance of local and indigenous communities. Green governance in local and indigenous communities consists of 3 layers: bonding, bridging, and linking social capital. You know, the core is a bonding capital. Of course, family play a central role of our natural resource management. From the families, you know, close relationships, friends and relatives, and forest resource, water resource, and community natural resource. And bridging capital is outreach from core bonding capitals. Local infrastructures, but still the face-to-face trust-oriented relationships, including NGO. Bonding capital and bridging capital is a horizontal structures of indigenous community, but the problem is the third layers, linking capital. Linking capital is the public relationships in the government, outer resources, external relationships. You know, construction of the road and the bridge, shopping mall, globalizations, marketing corruptions, and the dams, construction dams, of course, that cause a serious damage to relocation of indigenous people. Where is the solution? Where is the solutions? Solution is ecotourism potential because it's an integral of housing economy, gender equality, and rights, human rights to environment. Ecotourism tourists incorporate local indigenous community to environmental conservation with a benefit. That is our solution. Thank you very much for attention.
Peace and harmony coming in so many words. So I would like now to welcome the last speaker of today, Ms. Xu Zhao, for her presentation on breaking the wall of humans and robots working together. Right? It's not here, but it's still there. She is a specialist in tactile sensors, and she wants to research into robots that can grasp things like we humans do. And her motivation for coming here is to show what kind of progress has been made until now in this field. Please.
Good evening, everyone. I'm the last speaker, and I hope not the least. My topic is about sensors for robot hand. And nowadays, robot is a quite popular word. Many people believe that robot would be part of the society of 5.0. Well, so far, there's still a lot of technical limitation in robotics, and grasping like human is one of the toughest problems. You may think that it's easy for robots to grasp things, but for delicate grasping, such as bomb or fragile things, it's still very hard. So companies even like Amazon, they still need a lot of human in the warehouse to do picking up things and packing things. So in the meanwhile, there is a huge need and opportunity. So it's estimated that the global robot packaging market would be 5 billion by 2024. So we provide a solution with a 3-axis sensor which could enable a robot hand of reliable grasping and manipulation. So I'll show some video. This application on the robot hand is very compact and it's easy to integrate. It's soft but very robust, and it can provide very detailed feedback, and also very sensitive. And next, this is the application on the grippers. It can do very delicate grasping for various objects without deforming or dropping it. Yes, and it's very sensitive. You can see the visualization on the grip part. So now there are some similar products in the market, but some are very big to integrate and some could not provide detailed feedback. So compared to the current sensors, our sensors have a comprehensive advantages, and the cost is much lower. And for the moment, we only develop sensors, but in the future, we plan to cooperate with partners to provide a complete solution for the end user. So, in a word, our vision is to give robot a human sense of touch. And thank you.
Thank you very much. This was the last of our speakers. So let's thank them all once again with a big round of applause. Interestingly, we are way ahead of schedule. I believe we underestimated our capacity of organization for events, it seems. Here's what will happen now. All of the members of the jury will come upstairs with me for deliberation. I will ask that, of course, they do not leave their evaluation sheets right here because we do not want the speakers on the second row to see any of them. What will also happen is we had planned a catch and tell session with the speakers and you in the audience for 15 past 8 p.m. This is fine. But we will actually start 15 minutes ahead of schedule, so you will have more time to interact, which is great, right? And before that, since we are 10 minutes to, let's say, 20, you may have a short break. Yay! A short break, but you cannot go anywhere in this building, you know. So you have the restrooms on your left, you have the hall right right after the doors, but you may not go beyond. Especially because the doors close at 8. The automatic doors close at 8, and you can get out but not in. Right? So if you get out, please leave your friend inside so that she or he can help you back in. Or more likely, just don't get out. You have to come back here at about 8 or 8:05, and we'll start the catch and tell then. So thank you once again for listening to these great 14 presentations, and we'll be back with you for the result announcement in a moment. Thank you again.
I would like to ask everyone to get back into the room. If there's still someone outside? Okay. So, you're having two moderators now for the catch and tell session, and this is, to interact a little bit also with the audience. So, the speakers can really relax now. But we would like to get the audience involved. And we have two professionals on engaging everyone on the topic of science communication. So there are Selina, here from ELSI, and Caitlin. So she's working at the University of Tokyo, who was the host last year. So we say like last year, this year host together. And I would actually like to hand over. I think you're going to need that orange box at some point. But maybe first you get the microphone.
Thank you so much. Hi everyone, welcome. and hope you enjoyed the last couple of really nice talks. So we have about half an hour to do a discussion, but with you, the audience. And let me do a quick introduction. So my name is Tilanahina. I'm from Sri Lanka and Holland, and I work as the director of communications at LC. And my background is in science communication and astronomy. So today, during this time, we are going to talk about why should you care about science? But you as a scientist yourself, or as public, as a student, whatever, why should you do this, why it is relevant to public. This is Caitlin.
Yes, hello. Do I push the button? No. It just goes. All right, wonderful. Hi, my name is Caitlin. I currently work at the University of Tokyo. Before coming to Japan, there we go, we'll get closer to the receiver. Before coming to Japan, I worked in Australia at a museum called Questacon, where I got to hold fire in my hands safely with science. I also spent a year in Cambodia training local teachers to do science experiments using locally available materials, things that we recycle here in Japan and just throw away. So I know today that we're probably doing a little bit of preaching to the choir. You all probably have an answer to this question already. You are here at a science event, so hopefully you have a reason for why it's important to you. But we're going to be, I guess, doing just some Q&A and thinking maybe as a community about other explanations for why it's important to other people.
Yeah. So before we actually pass around, we have this microphone, which is very cushy, and it's not going to hurt you, so we are going to throw it at you if anyone wants to speak and ask questions. You can ask questions, you can comment on things. But before we get into any of these, I just want to point out to, recently we had about 2 weeks ago, we had a workshop here just for the Tokyo Tech researchers and students. And at the end, we were asking why do they want to get trained with us for science communication to help them to actually communicate science in a better way. And pretty much this is what we ended up with, to inspire and to increase the curiosity, learning, to help to teach children, and to tackle fake news and so on. And I know that there are some people who were with us today morning during the workshops as well here. Maybe they have some more comments. And as a scientist, as a researcher, why do you actually do? Let me actually start with someone I know. Why do you?
Is it my jacket? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna throw. Oh. Yes. Why are you a scientist?
Why am I a scientist? I think that was my interest since childhood. I always wanted to be a scientist. And I studied genetics engineering. So yeah, I don't know, I never imagined myself doing another thing really. Just science, yeah. Yeah, I have the curiosity by nature, I don't know, yeah.
If I can get this to, I can relate to this very much because one of my earliest childhood memories was looking up at stars. And I still remember the first time I took a binocular and I looked up. And then I saw this cluster of stars, which if you have seen one, even at a photo, it's amazing. Because you see thousands of stars together, it's so beautiful, and that moment is sort of like life-changing. So I can very much relate to you. Has anyone here wanted to get into science when in your adult life, maybe late high school or undergrad? Is everyone? Oh yes. Please. Can you throw the ball all the way?
That was a close one. No, I actually wanted to become a vet when I was a kid, or a firefighter, one of the two. And I became neither of them. I actually wanted to become a scientist when I was at university, so that is very, very late. And I went into science because I wanted to understand what went wrong with human communication, because that's what I saw all happening all around me. And as a linguist, because I was into languages, I was like, okay, let's do this and let's try this. And in my research, I actually started to combine the research field of me and my partner, because I'm in linguistics, my partner is a mathematician, and that is how we came to like a marriage of our two research fields. And actually my partner inspired me to become a scientist at a very, well, at 18 years old.
That's amazing.
I'm wondering, oh boy. I'm wondering how many of you in the audience would self-identify as a scientist? Okay, very nice. And how many of you would self-identify as not a practicing scientist, but a science enthusiast, someone who is very interested in science? Okay. Yeah, one there, very nice. So we've got a room full of scientists, maybe, and one science enthusiast, and some of you who just happened to be passing through and came for other reasons. Okay, interesting.
For the food.
For the free food, there's free food. Where? Okay.
So, yeah, I took this because I kind of started off studying science in a university, but I had a change of heart and went into law school, and I found it really dissatisfying. And I found that I returned to science as an adult, especially environmental science, because I think that in particular this field, there's an intersection where science really requires public policy. And this like kind of breaking walls and communication and interdisciplinary work is required for non-scientists to realize the kind of consequences of their life. Like sustainability and environmental science is what brought me back to science, and kind of what brought me back to being more engaged with, how would I put it, advancements and new technology in science. I think the solution really lies in science, but some of us are kind of deaf to it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's true. I also want to sort of relate it, but one of the things I hear often is that researchers struggle to sort of think if my science is relevant to the society, and how is it important, and so often I hear stories, but I'm actually studying this, but it's not really directly, there's no societal impact. And is there anyone who is a scientist? Yes.
Thank you. I think I'd like to make a point maybe related to this. I think there's two different things in science. There's the actual particular insights about like technology or concept, like origins of planets or things like this, which may or may not be directly relevant to some societal problems. But something that's key in science and that's always important in society as a whole seems to be the kind of the approach of science, like the way we go about solving problems, the way we make like predictions and change our minds if we were wrong and accept that, oh, okay, that was a hypothesis, I tested it, which seems to be very often missing in other parts of society, and I hope that we can find ways to make sure this is more present in society as a whole, even though our particular results, and I talk by experience, are not necessarily super relevant to people's lives.
Just to follow up, also we have had this conversation before. Have you, when you have one of your collaborators or a colleague discussing about science being relevant in the society, if someone, like maybe one of your colleagues, actually tells you my science is not directly relevant to society, to researcher, what advice or how would you respond to that?
It's a tricky question. personally don't care too much because I don't know something that has to be directly relevant, like right now, to a particular person in the streets. I believe that what I do helps increase general society's understanding of the world around us, which is great. If people realize it, that's good. If not, that's fine. As long as I don't like directly distract value society, that's only good.
Maybe I can add to that. So I think by now science is so far that everyone's like chipping away at a very small problem. So what you in person are doing is never going to solve any big problems that science altogether, what we are all doing, that's going to solve problems. So we are increasing the knowledge of mankind. And as you also said, we have this approach of thinking when something is wrong and we just change our mind. So this critical thinking is very important for society.
So this idea of maybe the facts of my science are not relevant, but the process of science and the process of critical thinking might be relevant to society. I'm wondering, though, we are all here in Japan, dealing with a lot of comforts that science has brought to our society, but one of our speakers was mentioning communities that are less privileged than we are in developing nations, indigenous landholders, or perhaps having their land taken from them. I'm wondering, though, if researchers or those of us here in society think that our work, our science, our process of critical thinking can be relevant in those situations. So.
And so talking about exactly that part, I also believe that science as a whole helps us as humans, as like a species, to grow and to think of different things. Like even if we as researchers that do, for example, very basic science, even if we cannot think of an actual use of what we are doing at the moment, we are helping humans as a whole to think of different solutions on how the world works. And that helps us to like develop new ideas. And those new ideas, even if we don't like, we ourselves as basic science, for example, researchers, take them into action, someone else might. And that little by little adds to our whole effort as human species to make the world better and to make our lives better. And in the same sense, I, for example, come from Mexico, and being here in Japan, I realize how people in Japan that have science everywhere don't even realize that science is everywhere. And this close contact to science also, but without realizing how close to science we are, makes us think that our research is not so important, that we are doing things that are so like astronomy related and everything that is so far. But at the same time, it's not far, because it helps us as a society, for example, in Japan, to think of maybe we can do this, maybe we can do that, we can go into robotics. Whereas in other countries where science is not so close to society, as in Mexico, people think that they have to stay in a small box. And like everything they do and their new ideas might not be developed. And maybe it's because they don't know that there are so many other options and so many new knowledge that is being developed. So I really think that us as scientists have to keep in mind that what we are doing, even if we cannot make something out of it, we are adding to the global knowledge, and maybe someone else can do something about it with that.
And let me also add to that, also one of the speakers were talking about the landslides from heavy rain. And I've experienced that quite a lot in Sri Lanka and also in some of the tropical countries I've traveled. But most of these developing countries, they don't have the infrastructure or the knowledge or the expertise to tackle these issues. So doing research elsewhere, I think one of the key things to keep in mind that all the research you do not only help your community, but pretty much elsewhere in the world as well. And so if anyone tackling these really important issues related to developing countries is very directly relevant to them. And I see, when I look at some of the students I meet in our university here, come from developing countries, and they come specifically for that reason that in my country I have this problem, but I need to solve it, but we don't have the infrastructure or the resources. And that's why they're here to a place with resources to learn and find solutions and to help Europe back home.
I'm wondering also about communities in the developed world that feel that research is not relevant to their lives. So I am from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which is not too far from Appalachia, where there's historically a lot of coal mining. And so those communities are very upset that environmental researchers are saying that coal is not good for the environment. So science is considered a direct threat to them. So I'm wondering, as researchers, how do you feel or how do you respond when you're dealing with people, perhaps in your more local communities, that are telling you they don't want you to do this high-minded advancement of knowledge? They have more day-to-day concerns. How am I going to feed my family? Sorts of things.
We can, do you want to answer that and then go back to the
So I would say to them that science isn't the enemy necessarily, and that if they are concerned about that, they should talk to their government official, and that policy is key in that regard. So if we're saying coal is detrimental to the environment, then rather than just killing the coal industry, the government officials need to come up with a plan to replace that industry to keep that area economically vibrant. So if you're taking away coal, maybe you can subsidize and support, whether it's, again, for me, solar energy industry or any other industry that is beneficial to the environment. So that's what I would tell them.
I would like to make a first small comment. I am a philologist. My background is Russian literature, so I'm not very comfortable to talk among you scientists. But I would like to focus on not on the solution side of science, but on the power of questioning something or to find out problems or challenges among or in society or among people is the most important elements of all sciences. I have this feeling.
Thank you. So maybe the idea of the process of understanding anything rather than understanding maybe the natural world, understanding anything in society, connecting to that idea of critical thinking, perhaps?
Thanks. Anyone else has any comments before we yes.
Another nice guess. Maybe combining the two ideas is that what happens a lot is that science is seen as something that will deliver a product, and that is not what science is all about. Science is about development, and development isn't necessarily measured in what can be produced out of that. If we can advance our knowledge on something, we can make advancements in the future. The same with how Soviet scientists really uncovered a lot of the physics that we're doing today, but we have never read about it because it was all written in Russian. And now all Western European scientists are working on this, and now and then a Russian comes along and says oh, but we've done this in the 60s already. Why don't we know about this? Because it was kept in the Soviet Union. So this whole idea of innovation and productivity is good because that's part of science, but it shouldn't be the ultimate goal. And to tie it in with what we said about politics, we are scientists, we are not politicians. It's not our job to make sure that a society works on a political level. We can research it, we can give information, we can give our insights. And what we see now is that those insights and ideas are often used against us. Indeed, as scientists who look at ecology and the global market, for instance, our findings are used to just demonize ourselves. And that is, of course, how interaction and information consumption works these days, and that's more my field. How we have now been trained to consume rather than interact. We get so much in all the time that it's just, okay, we have been primed to react to this kind of word, to this kind of image, without even knowing it, because it's all framed within a specific framework. I think we as scientists, we need to be very clear about this, that we communicate about our findings, and that we also maybe should step up on what is done with it.
Anyone has a different opinion on this?
I was going to start by saying that I slightly disagree with what was just said, but let me start by saying I'm not a scientist. But one of the things I want to say is we should get away from the labels. Okay, so I'm a member of society. I'm by training an economist. I'm here because I'm curious about science, but I'm also here because my current job is about funding science research for improvement of the world at large, which in my mind is about interacting with policy and with the economy. So what I want from scientists, as somebody who is not trained in science, what I want from scientists is a clear statement of what the problem is that you're researching. What you can do for the rest of the world, for the non-scientifically trained, is to explain to us what is the nature of the problem around us. We need a bit of the technical, but that's why events like this are so incredibly important, because through this sort of thing, you tell me that there's a problem out there, and it's something I have never thought about. I know nothing about it. You can tell me what's the nature of that problem, what do we know about it so far, and what are the next things that need to be worked out in order to move us towards a solution or just to improve our knowledge. And that, I think, is the critical thing about scientifically trained people, and it's what connects you to society. So the idea that science is somehow going on in a bubble and that you have no responsibility about how that's taken or what's done with it, I think is fundamentally an odd view of the world. You know, we're all citizens. We all have the same responsibility about how our politicians behave and what kind of choices are made. And your role as scientifically trained people is to get that information out there so that everybody, all of us, makes better choices about what's done next. So
I completely agree with that, by the way. And it was not the point I wanted to make that we should live or work in a bubble, not at all. It's indeed our job, as everyone's job, to be critical about what is going on around us and try to understand it. And that's also why, for instance, indeed this kind of event is very important, to get ideas out and to train any scientist to communicate it to a very wide audience. So on that point, yes, I completely, fully agree on that. I don't fully agree on the fact that everything has to amount to new innovation. Sometimes we just want to know things that have no application whatsoever, and those are worthwhile. And also those are worthwhile funding, I think. But it's difficult to sell sometimes.
So I think this idea of researchers wearing multiple hats, perhaps, right? You are not only a researcher that exists in the bubble of your laboratory, you are a member of society who is also voting and who also has other ways that you are connected to society beyond this single definition of as a researcher. And perhaps tapping into those other identities is a source of inspiration for ways that you can communicate and make your scientist identity relevant to the rest of society.
Yeah, so I have two supervisors. One of them has a background in physics and the other is a traditional engineer.
And one of them advises me on research, saying, oh, this is an interesting problem, but when I ask more about it, he says it's science for the sake of science, because it's interesting, let's do it. And the other one has to see an end product, so what are you doing this for? So there's already a discrepancy within scientists, right? And to answer the previous speaker's question, and this is an actual question, there are certain fields of science where there isn't a clear application. For example, space applications. We went to the moon based on emotion, but there are certain byproducts because of that endeavor. So we developed many medical applications in the ISS, blah, blah, blah. But if we never supported space science, we wouldn't have had these applications for the people. And there's also quantum physics or whatever, and we're seeing these applications now. But back when they were doing it, probably didn't have. That was basically just science for the sake of science. So how do we do science if we have to, and how do we communicate with the people, taxpayers, that this science is important when you don't know what you're going to get in the future, when anything turned out not to be really useful?
I just have a brief comment on this topic of scientists wearing multiple hats or promoting their research and innovating even. And I'm from Silicon Valley. I grew up there, so of course innovation is really big there. But as scientists, we have to remove our own biases and remove ourselves from the outcome. Otherwise, our results will be skewed. So if we go into a certain project trying to force a certain outcome, it could have negative effects on society. So I think that it could be dangerous. For example, I work at a drug company, so we're trying to show that our drugs work very well, but we should be careful of bias in that way. So.
I want to actually combine all these three things and bring you guys to one topic that was up there about fake news. And this is one of the comments I get, especially from public. And they always ask about fake news, and the credibility of science has diminished because of this. As scientists or research students, how do you feel we should tackle this? Because mind you, now people have more access to information than before, and it's only going to increase. And remember, even the poorest countries, pretty much everyone now has a mobile device, and it's only going to increase, which means the internet, the accessibility. And so how, as a scientist, how do you, or a research student, how do you feel you can contribute to this?
I can. I don't know how relevant this example to your point, but the other day, my mom called me, and she's in Turkey. I'm from Turkey. She said, I saw on the internet, apparently Cuban scientists found cancer, the treatment to cancer. Does it relate to your research? She asked me this. So apparently I saw the website, and there is like big, exclamation marks, Cuban scientists cured cancer. Like, there is no such thing, but to get her like internet, websites, personal blogs, like Facebook shares, lots of, you will see lots of, information that's actually not true, fake news, just to get people's attention so they can show more advertisement, maybe make more money out of this. And I told my mom that it is not true, like cancer is a very complex disease. So I think maybe for us, filtration of this sort of information may be slightly easier. But for my mom, she's a technical painter, like she has nothing to do with science, just interest. For her, it's harder to distinguish what is right and what is fake. And I think how we tackle with this is not really scientists' job, but more like policymakers again, or different regulations, agencies, maybe bureaucrats, I don't know. That will be my contribution to the topic.
So in these conversations about fake news, something that begins to become an undercurrent, I think, in the conversation is often something that in science communication we call the deficit model, which is that if we just give people more facts, they are an empty vessel into which we shall pour correct information, and they shall make better decisions and they shall resist fake news from this. That deficit model is not true. No one is an empty vessel, and you cannot pour your facts into them. So as scientists and as members of a community that is concerned about fake news, perhaps we could tap into the emotional communication that tends to make fake news so successful, that it's appealing to people's emotions, and that's why that information spreads and is so shareable. So I'm wondering, as scientists, how do you see the deficit model in ways that your research is communicated, and perhaps how can you counter that deficit model?
I think a common related to both of those things, which is, we had this afternoon the discussion about how to communicate our science, and one of the outcomes was that because attention span is short and it's good to go with the big headlines, even as a scientist with our press releases, to say, oh, this is what we did. And then if you go this route, then it's not so easily distinguishable from the example you gave about cancer, because they also go, oh, we solved this, big exclamation mark. So I think what scientists could do to help a bit in this direction, without necessarily tapping into the emotion factor, is to actually show the process of research in our press releases and in our discussion with community at large, where we don't just say like, oh, I solved a problem, oh, I found Earth 2.0, I did this big thing, but oh, I had this idea, I checked, oh, did that fail, we tried that one, oh, that failed as well, and this brought us a bit closer, so this is our new idea, to really show what research actually is, rather than just a big headline, which is a bit of a deformed idea of what we actually did.
And how will you get people to listen to you for that one?
Oh.
That's the challenge, right?
I think, like from Elsa, are we in Elsa? Yeah, Elsa. I think one of the students published a paper and then wrote a blog about it, and it became a hit. Yeah, I think you mentioned that, right? After the paper, somebody wrote a blog about it. So publication is not where we stop. We should actually keep going. We should, again, write blogs, Twitter, Facebook shares, lots of other tools that we can communicate better. Yeah, so publication is not where we actually finish. Yeah.
I wanted to piggyback on what you were saying, because I think to say the scientist's job is not this negates our role in society. Not to say that scientists have to go out and track down people that are publishing fake news, but I think a different angle is to say there's space for education, right, in this, and the process, scientific thinking process, which I think what you're hinting at is that if we publish, we say, this is how we get there, and this is how we think about things. So there's, I think, a role for education, because teaching people to think critically and understand the process of science could prevent them from getting, runaway headlines that are clickbait, right? I think that there is room for critical thinking. Somebody mentioned that, and I think that maybe science education is what is in need.
I 100% agree with that. So I actually started as an academic and working on exoplanets, and I changed my career to science communication on purpose, and because my end goal was also to make sure that I contribute to the society, that students actually don't have to go through the struggle I had to go through. And I think that's, so I put sort of 3 points on the screen that sort of touched today during this discussion. And exactly what you're saying is the second point to help the next generation. Even the current generation, the education is important. And which is fun. One of the funny thing is some of the countries, if you look at the science education curriculum, that about 10 years behind, and which is sad. And one of the reasons is it's impossible to update so frequently as fast as science is developing. And so science education is one of the key things here, and for many things. And I didn't get your name, but you pointed out one of the important things about that we should not only talk about societal issues, and I agree. So because we have quite a lot of work to do on societal issues, and I think doing pure science, or doing, especially at LC, we are also doing science that are very basic, and these are quite hard to convince with the public why are you working on some of these topics, and like origin of Earth, origin of life, and but at the end of the day, it's also, if you look at the big, if you take a step back and look at the big picture, all these little things sort of helps to put together a bigger puzzle, and I think. I'm going to say final words, and we can get things. I think we have to go to the next session, probably. And, okay, apparently not, okay. So, but let me continue. I think one of the key things is whichever way you see the science is progressing or how you are contributing, the work you do has a big value overall. And you might actually not see it properly right now, but if you keep communicating in some way, if you keep correcting your mother, and if you keep correcting, helping your aunt or someone, even these little things help to tackle things like fake news and giving more education and support for people to decide themselves. And so that's one of the important things as scientific community we should keep doing to help the rest of the community, to educate them to make their own decisions.
Yeah. So our judges are still deliberating, it sounds like.
Can we go to one question and
Yeah.
Whoever has
the far end.
Sorry.
Just do one second. Can I ask
Sure.
you one quick question? Do you include social science in this discussion?
Yes, I personally do, yes.
One second.
Hi. I want to come back to a previous comment of maybe it's worthwhile to think about getting rid of the category of a scientist. I think that might be helpful because I think that we're all actually scientists, and some of the most empirical, deductive, reasoning, hypothesis testing practitioners that I've seen have been people like automobile mechanics. When I used to have an old Volkswagen, and it would have these little problems. It's really hard to figure out where the noise is coming from. The best mechanic can do hypothesis testing on the car and figure out what the problem is. So some of my mechanics have been some of the best scientists that I've ever met, but they don't write papers. That's just something that us scientists do, but I think we're actually all kind of scientists. And the other part of that, or the other side of that, is that scientists themselves are susceptible to fake science, right? We have our quality control metrics, but there's many things that are published that aren't true. And so we're susceptible too, and so this category of separation isn't really helpful. What scientists do differently is that we admit that knowledge is provisional, and we admit that we have to admit that we're wrong when we're wrong, or at least as a community. And so maybe that is something that we could try to share, is this idea of provisional knowledge.
So when I worked in museums, we would tell people that if you can ask a question, make a guess, and do a test, then you are a scientist. Question, guess, test. That's all it takes. So our judges are ready, but I just want to make one final comment, which is that I hope that if you are a researcher, or if you are just a member of some kind of community group, that perhaps you could encourage more science communication events in your communities by hosting a science cafe, or bringing a researcher in to speak at your event. And again, increasing the amount of communication we have between our researchers who are very excited to share their results and members of the community who might benefit from hearing them. And with that, I think we will have our organizers come up and announce the winners.
Thank you so much for your discussion. I think it was very good for all these comments. And please do keep this discussion going when you go back to your host home institution. Thank you so much.
Okay, so I hope for the audience you also enjoyed that session in between, yeah? So you had a say finally too. The jury did a really tough job. I mean, I think even in the audience you agree, we had so many good presentations. So that is always hard. And so I could say in any way for each of you, I think it was a big achievement, and we really enjoyed it. That's what I can say already. Yeah, we would like to announce actually 2 prizes today. You were informed about one prize, but there's another prize which was just kind of brought in the game a few weeks ago. That's why we didn't do any marketing about it, but we're going to announce this kind of second winner first. This prize has a little bit of side focus on entrepreneurship, because there is one new format offered in Berlin. It's a training course on, called Innovation Days training, and there the winner would have a chance to get a training to really improve his marketing skills and maybe develop his her work into something that can be a product or service in the future. So I would like to ask Professor Wojtek to join me, because she will be the one announcing eventually the winner. Okay, I will hand over to Pam.
Okay, yes. All right, for the Entrepreneurship Prize, it's going to the, can you talk?
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Everyone can hear me across the street. It goes to the person who talked about recycling and black flies, Riku Yamada. And we think you can really benefit from becoming an entrepreneur and having your flies take over the world. Thank you very much.
Yes. congratulations. And now for the prize that you knew existed before you came in here, which is, once again, the first prize. Person who will go to Berlin for the Finale event this November and pitch once again in front of hundreds of very important people. Should I delay this a couple more minutes? Nah, I don't think so. Yeah. And to announce this prize, I would like to ask Ms. Manke to come, director of the DWIH Tokyo and also the ARD office here, and she will announce who is the winner.
The winner of this year's Tokyo Falling Waltz Lab is Mr. Colin Stecker.
But of course, congratulations to all of you, of course, who participated. As you know, as usual in these kind of events, we will have now approximately 30 minutes of pictures taken. So we would like to ask first maybe all the candidates to come, all of you, to come here on stage for a picture.
Come on, please. 3, 2, last us. 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, just to close this, I want to say a few words of gratitude. First of all, of course, all the speakers, thank you very much for these wonderful speeches today or tonight. And the realization of this event wouldn't have been possible without many individuals. I would like to express my gratitude to all supporters and partners of the Falling Waltz Tokyo. In particular, I would like to thank the Earth Life Science Institute here at the Tokyo Institute of Technology, Professor Wojciech, especially, thank you very much for hosting this event, this time in this wonderful room. I would like to thank our partner, EURAXESS, Monsieur P, and I would like to address our thanks to all members of the jury, namely Professor Olo, Professor Wojciech, Dr. Schneider, Professor Yokota, Ms. Schenk, Dr. Sakurada, Mr. Escoffier, and Professor Maeda. And I would like also to thank the team, which is Mr. P, Constance Lang, Tamayo Suzuki, Yoko Kawamura, Ekaterina Borisova, Christina Kontenkova, and Paulina Schilling. Thank you very much. And thank you very much, Stilina Hinatigala and Kaitlin Dever, for this wonderful workshop discussion that you just organized. Thank you very much. And there will be a reception. I hope you will all come. It's in the second floor. There will be food and drinks. So let's talk some more and have a very nice evening. Thank you very much all.